Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here, and what a freaking incredible week this is. I got some questions from you guys, and one in particular popped up multiple times that I think is really pertinent to address right now. It says, hey Nick, how do you know what mileage is right for you? And it's just such a great question, and the reason I got a lot of it is that last week I talked about how I'm not a big fan of numbers, how I never measured my body fat percentage, I never measured my VO2 max, but I said there is one number that I really paid attention to. Actually, I kind of obsessed over it, and that is weekly mileage. But the question then pops up, well, how do you know what the right weekly mileage is for you? I really think it's a combination of two things. One, you have to communicate with your coach. Your coach, if they're a good coach, is going to be able to watch you respond to stimulus, respond to training, and know whether you're getting burnt out or whether you're rising and becoming better from that workload. So communicating with your coach, and I was talking with my coaches on at least a weekly basis, as a pro, a daily basis, about how I felt, and we felt out kind of what was the right workload for me. Now, in high school, what did that look like? Well, for me, training everything from 400 meters up to 5K, I was running about 30 to 40 miles a week. And I thought that was a lot at the time. I now know that it wasn't. But then in college, I really kind of went from being a guy that ran a little bit in high school to a guy that ran year-round in college, and I was doing closer to 50 to 60 miles a week in college. And that's what my coach felt was right for me as I trained for 8K cross-country in the fall, and then ultimately trained for the 8 and 15 in the spring. Now, I would say my mileage didn't fluctuate that much. I was kind of a lower mileage 8K guy and a higher mileage middle distance runner, and I carried that mentality with me to being a pro. Even though I didn't run cross country as a pro, I was running about 70 miles a week as a pro, which of course is on the high end of most 800 meter runners. Now, how does that translate to what you need to do? Just because it was the right mileage for me does not mean that that's going to be the right mileage for you. So be communicating with your coach. A good coach is going to look at two different runners, and even though they may be training for the exact same event, they may differ by 10, 20, 30 miles per week in their weekly mileage, because mileage is so specific. So when people ask me, hey Nick, I'm this age training for this event, what should my weekly mileage be? It is impossible for me to answer that because every athlete is so different. So really be communicating with your coach, but then from there, your coach, all they can do is watch how you respond to the training. They don't know how you feel. They don't know whether you're breaking down or whether you feel like you're not being challenged. So you also have to be looking into yourself and feeling out your training. By that I mean, you want to be tired when you're not in race season. During the base phase of my training, I was tired constantly, but tired and burnt out are two totally different things. Being tired is okay. Being tired throughout the week is what you should feel when you're in a base phase. But being burnt out, like just really for days on end, feeling like you physically can't get out the door to run, that's something totally different. Now, as I was feeling out my weeks, I knew that I could run 65 to 70 miles a week as a professional without getting burnt out. But if I tried to do 70 to 75 miles a week, I would get burnt out and in some cases injured. So as you learn about your body, as you learn about what you can and can't handle in terms of training, you're going to learn what workload is right for you. But again, you're communicating that with your coach. And even as a pro, it wasn't just about managing miles per week, it was managing workload per week, because on top of the 70 miles that I was training, I also had 2 lifts and 2 to 3 half-hour swims during that week. So it was a big workload, and it took me, the better part of a decade or almost 2 decades to learn exactly what I could and couldn't handle. So that's my best advice for finding the right weekly mileage that's just right for you. Now, whether you're running 20 miles a week or 100 miles a week, you're going to need a good pair of shoes. If you're doing 100 miles a week, you're going to be going through shoes really fast, and you really need my hookup right now. I've partnered with Running Warehouse to give away a pair of shoes every single week for the rest of the year, you guys. That's like 45 more chances to win a pair of shoes. The only way to enter in for a chance to win is to follow me on Instagram at Nick Simmons, and each week I randomly pick one of my followers, and then I DM them, and I hook them up with Running Warehouse, and they get to pick any shoe they want from Running Warehouse. And Running Warehouse has a killer selection for men and women. They got spikes, they got trainers. And this week's winner, a young man named Carson Maylett. Carson, thank you so much for following me. Thank you everyone who follows me on Instagram. A new video every week, a new pair of shoes given away every week. See you guys next week.